right, so our goal today is to be able to multiply decimals up to the thousandths place. So that means our decimal place will go no further than 3 places. Okay? Alright, so one way to multiply decimals is by using the decimal grid. The grid represents one whole where each square is 1/100th. So it hasn't changed from when we added or subtracted. It's still worth 1/100th. Alright, so to represent 5/10, how many columns would we shade? 5, yes. Give me 1 second, I gotta mark these 2 people here. Alright, so it looks like the only person I am missing is Aiden. Okay, so yes, we're going to color in 5 columns. And how many squares would that be? 50, yes. Now, once again, it doesn't matter. I can shade in 5 columns this way. I can shade in 5 columns this way. I could go this way. Doesn't matter how you want to do it. Okay, but I'm going to do it this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there is my 5 columns. Now it says to represent 4/10, I'm going to shade how many rows? Yes, 4 rows. And how many squares would that be?
40 squares.
Yes. So notice that I'm using 2 different colors because I want to be able to see where are these going to intersect. Okay? So I'm going to do this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so hopefully you can see that this area right here has a double shade. Okay, so that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this way, right? And I have 4 this way. So my double shade is how many squares? 20. Okay, so that is what they both have in common. So it says the double shaded square represents the decimal 0.2, or we could say 0.20. It doesn't matter. So that means that 5/10 times 4/10 represents 20 hundredths. Okay, so that's how we will use a grid. Okay, do I need to pause for a second?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so if we're looking at number 2, it says Kara buys 11 2/10 pounds of pork chops for $3.50 per pound. How can you find the total cost of the pork chops? So what do I need to do?
Multiply.
Yes. I don't know, sometimes I wonder why they ask these questions, right? Because we're on multiplying decimals, so why would it be anything else? But anyway, all right, so now we're going to use the area model. So it says an area model shows partial products using place values. Complete the area model by multiplying to find the partial product and then we're going to list them. All right, so if you notice, this one is in the tens place. It's in the tens place, and then this 3 is in the ones place. So that's why we are going to multiply 3 times 10, because this is in the tens place. So when I multiply 3 times 10, I get 30. So that goes here, so 3 times 10, and then that 30 is going to go here. Okay, that's the product. This is what the sum of that is. Okay, now if I go to the next one, this is in the ones place, so that's why it's just 3 times 1. So that's going to be 3 times 1, and then we're going to add 3 here. Okay, so then we go here, so 3 times 2/10, so that's why it's 3 here, and that's why it's 2/10 here. Okay, so when we multiply decimals, we just multiply the same way. So 3 and then 0.2, well, 2 times 3 is 6. I have 1 decimal place, so that means I move it, and that gives me 6/10. So 3 times 2/10 is 6/10. Okay, so that would be here. So 3 times 2/10. And I'm going to put my decimal down here. Okay, so I'm going to put my whole numbers here and my decimals here. All right, so then on this one, this is in the tenths place. So that's why it's 5/10 times 10, because remember that 1 is in the tens place. So once again, 10 times 0.5 is 50, but I'm going to move my decimal point 1 place. So that gives me 5. So my product is 0.5 times 10, which is 5. Okay? They did this one for me. So 5/10 times 1 is 5/10. So I'm going to add that down here, and then I'm going to add it up here. So 5/10 times 1. All right, and then the last one. So multiply it the same way. 5 times 2 is 10, but I have 1, 2. So I have 2 places behind my decimal. So that means I'm going to do 1, 2. So this would be 10 hundredths, or I can say 1/10. So I'm going to add that down here. And then that would be 5/10 times 2/10. So now I can add my whole numbers. 30 plus 3 plus 5 is 38. And then 6/10 plus 5/10 plus 1/10 would be, so 6/10, 5/10, 1/10. So remember, when we add our decimals, we line those points up, right? So 6 and 5 is 11, plus 1 is 12. So 2, bring that decimal point down, carry the 1. So that would be 1 and 2/10. So to add that together, I got to add that placeholder, right? So we're adding. So 0 and 2 is 2. 8 and is 9. So 39 and 2/10. So we're talking money, right? So this doesn't look right for money. So how would I write that using money? $39 and what?
2 cents.
Not 2 cents.
19 cents. Oh, 20.
Yeah, because remember, I can add a 0 at the end, but I can't add it in between there. So 2 cents would have looked like this, right? And so I can only add the 0 to the end. So it should be $39.20. Okay? So that is how you would use that area model. Okay? Alright, so the turn and talk says, what do the labels given on the aerial model represent? Well, you're probably like, well, there is no labels. But I kind of labeled them, right? I labeled tens and ones, and then this would be tenths, and then this was 1 and 10. So what do they represent? I underlined it when we first started.
The place value?
Yes. So they represent the place values.
Can I have some time copying this down?
Yep. All right. The third way that we can multiply decimals is just counting those decimal places like we kind of did on the other page, which is the way I do it. I don't do the two models, so I just multiply. So it says, Jared mows the grass every weekend in the summer. The amount of gas he uses per hour is shown. How much gas does he use in 5 8/10 of an hour? So what is the expression? So write an expression to represent the situation. So remember, an expression does not have an equal mark. So what do we need to do with our two numbers? To write that expression.
Need to multiply them.
Yep. So that expression would be 5 8/10 times 1 2/10. Yep. So it says, find an estimate of this product by rounding each factor to the nearest whole number and then multiplying. So what would I round each one of these to?
Well, 1 you would round up, and 1 rounded to 2 would be 1.0, but it
Yeah.
would just be 1.
And then
5 rounded to 8, it would be 6, just 6.
yes, so 6 times 1, so my answer would be just 6, just like you said. All right, so the instruction says another way to multiply decimals is to multiply as you would with whole numbers. Then count the number of decimal places after the decimal point in the factors. So what is the product of 58 and 12? So how would we do that?
You would go 2
times 8 and then 2 times 5.
Okay, so what's 2 times 8?
16. So you would break the 6 down and put the 1 above the 5.
Yep.
And then you would do 2 times 10, 2 times 5, which is 10. And then you would add 1, which is 11. And then you would do 1 times 8, which is 8.
Okay, so what do I put here first, though?
Oh, you put a 0.
A 0 or an X or whatever you guys are used to doing, yep. So then 1 times 8.
And then you do 1 times 8, which is 8. And 1 times 5, which is 5. And then you add 116 and 580.
Yep, so what do we get?
696.
Yep. All right. So now we're going to go back up here and we're going to look at my decimal places. So it says decimal places after the decimal point. So we have 1 here and we have 1 here. So 2. Okay, so the product must have the same number of decimal places as the total number of decimal places in the factors. So how many decimal places should there be in 5 8/10 and 2 and 1 2/10? Well, we just said that. 2, right? All right, so my answer, so I'm going to always start from the back and I'm going to move it. 1, 2. So my answer would be 6 and 9600. So it says explain how you knew where to place the decimal point. Well, we didn't know until we moved it 2 places, right? And we're always going to move 2 places to the left. And I shouldn't say it's not always going to be 2. It's going to be however many places we have in that number, right? All right. So the estimate of 6 is close to the product of 6 and 9600. So my answer is reasonable. So then the turn and talk says, how close should an estimate be to the product of the 2 decimals? So how close do you think it should be? Okay, well, it definitely should not be hundredths off, right? So if this is 6 and this is 6 and 9600, one is okay, definitely when we're talking just about our ones place. But if I would have gotten 60, that was nowhere near close to this number. Okay, so 1, it depends on what you're multiplying, because if we're multiplying by the hundredths, then we may be a couple hundred off. If we're multiplying by 1,000, we may be 1,000 off. So I'm going to put it depends on the numbers we multiply. Okay? But it should be reasonable, meaning within a couple. Okay? All right, so that brings me to the check understanding. Okay? If you do not like this method, then don't use it. If you prefer to do what we did up here, then that is what I want you to use. Okay? Remember, guys, I am not a particular on forcing you to do one way or the other. My goal is for you to understand how to do it and get it right. Okay? All right, so I'm going to give you about 8 minutes to work on this check for understanding, and then we will come back and look at the answers, okay? Whoops. Not what I wanted to do.
move the screen up a little so I can see the multiplication on the side?
Oh, the one over here?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Anybody?
I want to help with number 2.
Okay. All right, well, go ahead with number 2.
Okay, so you turn the... Oh, I didn't do it in the box. I did the regular...
Okay. So what did you do?
I turned the 2.3 into 23 and 0.6 into 0.6. And then 6 times 3 is 18. And then you carry your 1. And 6 times 2 is 12 plus 1 is 13. So it would be 138.
Okay. And then what about my decimals? You got to go back and move those decimals. How many places do I have?
And then 2, so it would be 1.38.
Yep. Yep. So number 2 is 1 and 38/100. Okay. What about this one? And if you did it that way on the number 1, you don't have to do this box. Right, so 38 5/10 times 9.70, and I can even take that 0 off. I don't even need the 0. Okay, so let's take the decimal points off, and then let's multiply. So 5 times 7 is 35, right? Then I'm going to carry the 3. 8 times...
7 times 8 is...
56, is that right?
What'd you say?
8 times 7 is 56,
I think so.
plus the 3 would be 59. So 3 times 7
3 times 7 is 21
plus 5
is 26.
Yep. All right, so The next one I have to either add a 0 or an X, right? Because we're moving down. So 9 times 5 is...
5 is 45.
Yep. So cross those out, carry the 4. So 9 times 8.
9 times 8 is 27.
No, 9 times 8. You flipped it. 9 times 8 is 72. Yeah. Okay, so 72 plus 4
is
4 and 2 is 6, right?
yeah, so
Okay, so
76.
yep, so carry the 7. All right,
And
and
then 9 times 3 is 27, and then you add the 7, so 27 plus 7 is 34.
yep, 34. All right. So 5 times 0.
You mean plus?
Yeah. What did I say? Times. I meant plus. So 5 plus 0.
9 plus 5 is 14.
Yep. So this is 12 plus 1, which is
13. I mean, yeah.
yep. 4 plus 2 is 6 plus the 1, right?
Is 7.
7, and then bring down the 3. Okay, how many decimal places do I have? 1,
2,
2.
3.
Okay, so we dropped the 0 though, right? So it's really just 2.
Yeah.
So $373.45.
356.
Yep, that's what you should have. All right, so you guys still have time. So go ahead and move on to on your own. We will work on this again tomorrow. Okay? So today is not the only day. So if you do not finish it, you do not have to worry about finishing it tonight. Okay? We will work on this tomorrow. But I'm just giving you a head start on getting some work done. Okay? And guys, remember, Friday is the last day I'm taking late work, missing work, and then Wednesday your test corrections are due.